All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 219 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us. Whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTubing, we want to thank you so much for making time to be with us in this time as we have a jam-packed, fun-filled show for you guys, full of football, full of whatever else we're going to talk about, and I'm sure that you guys will be wanting to talk about a lot of things, and I have cool announcements in regards to you guys, so definitely stay tuned in that regard because it's something you're not going to want to miss. But again, thank you guys so much for being here with us, man. We do this each and every week, each and every Saturday, and we have an absolute blast every single time we do this show, man, because it is what we love to do, which is to have sports talk. This is what we do on and off the camera. This isn't just something we do when we're on camera. Trevor and I talk about this stuff every single day. The cool thing about it is we keep it to a place where we don't talk about the things we're going to talk about on the show exclusively. We like to keep each other a little surprised in that regard. So you're going to get authentic content today in regards to what we have to say, our opinions, our viewpoints. But something else that we want is your opinions and your viewpoints, your authentic opinions and viewpoints, which is why we need you guys to go to YouTube. If you've not already done it, go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe at the Spoken Podcast, and hit us up there. Let us know what you guys are thinking. We want to hear about that so badly. That is something we absolutely have to hear about. And it's really cool, too, because we have a new segment that we're introducing to our show. It's official today. After 219 episodes, we're going to switch things up a little bit. We're really excited about this. Trevor and I talked about it, and we decided this is the best direction for our show. So when I first started The Spoken, as far as the Facebook page, where it originated in 2010, December 6th of 2010, I would start this where I would have an opinion piece, or I'd write a blog, if you will, on a particular sports topic, and then after that it would always be presented as a question to the viewing and listening audience. At that time, it was just viewing audience, actually, and I would always end it with the two words, because I wanted to hear from you guys. I would say speak it, because I wanted to hear from you guys in regards to what I was presenting. It wasn't about what I felt and that'd be it. I wanted to hear from you guys. That's been consistent for the last almost 13 years. So what we decided is on the show now, moving forward, we're going to have a segment right in the heart of our show, right in the middle of the show, where we basically give you guys the platform, the segment, a full segment of you guys chiming in, you guys giving us your thoughts, your takes, your questions live on the show, and we answer them as much as we possibly can. We promise you we will get to as many as we possibly can, as many as you guys are willing to give us, quite frankly. How this is going to be possible? Well, we need one easy step from you guys. Now, it's what I mentioned just a couple minutes ago. Go to YouTube, go search the Spoken Podcast, hit subscribe, and then comment. That is literally all we need from you. We don't need anything else. We don't need a DNA sample. We don't need an application process. We don't need money. Well, I mean, that money would be nice, but the thing about it is we just want this to be more interactive, and I think that is the best way moving forward. And we're not even in the football season. We're about 90 some days away, but we know that this is the best way to get things going and getting prepared for football season, because we know that's when things are going to be really amped up. So let's get some practice rounds in. Help us get those practice rounds in, and hit us up on YouTube. Chime in as much as you guys want. There's not a limit. It's all, you get 3 comments per person. You guys can comment as much as you want, and we will get to as many as we possibly can, and that is what we want to do, and I wanted to announce that. We also have a couple other announcements before we get into into Lance Rants, if you will. It is someone's birthday today. The guy sitting across from me, my younger brother Trevor, is 34 years old today. He's an old man officially, and I just wanted to put that out there. So if you guys are watching, listening, let's go ahead and give Trevor a little hand clap. Happy birthday, man. Congratulations. One day older. How do you feel? Are you like one of those things where it's like, do you feel 34, Trevor?
I'm in the prime of my life, baby. I feel great.
Yeah. So we just wanted to say happy birthday to our guy. This show stuck without him. It's been a blast having Trevor on the show every single episode, minus the very first episode. Since then, Trevor's been on the show essentially every single episode, and I wouldn't want it any other way. It's a true blessing, man, honestly, to be able to do this with your brother. Like, having friends to do shows like this with is a blast, but having your own blood brother doing this, man, I wouldn't want any other way. So I'm really blessed to have my brother, and I wanted to say happy birthday to my brother. I love you to death, man.
Appreciate it.
I'm glad you're here. And also, we got a really cool announcement as well, guys, for our show, actually. It's actually outside of the spoken. I know we're just full of news today, but I'm really excited to tell you guys about all this stuff. So, Starkey Media is obviously our umbrella network, and Clint and Noah have been so good to us, man. They give us their platforms. They allow us the opportunities to post our shows every single week, or post content, things of that nature, and we're really excited about those opportunities. But they actually pitched us an idea, Trevor and I, and we're going to actually sign on to it. So, starting this football season, during the entire NFL season, Trevor and I will be joining former Chiefs defensive end Von Booker. Some of you older heads might remember him. I know Trevor and I remember from our childhood. Von Booker and I and Trevor will be doing a show called Chatting Up the Chiefs. It'll be a post-game show after every single Chiefs game. We will be on a platform together, us three, and we will be giving you guys our immediate responses and reactions to what happened in that Chiefs game, whether they lose, whether they win, whatever the case may be. We're going to give you guys that, and I'm really, really excited about this opportunity. I really appreciate Noah and Clint for giving us that platform and that opportunity, because Starcade's growing exponentially. We got a lot of great shows on that platform. They have a really good show. Arrowhead Allies is awesome. Shaggy Shane's doing his thing. There's a lot of really good content with Starcade Media, so go hit them up, guys, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everything. They got a lot of great content out there, and we're going to be adding to that equation even more so you'll be seeing our lovely bearded faces even more so, in this time with a former Chiefs player. I'm really excited about that, and wanted to put that out there first and foremost. But let's start here, guys, with the show. Let's get right into the thick of things, because since he's still the biggest remaining free agent in the NFL, and it's still the biggest talking point in the NFL, and primarily here in Kansas City. Let's just go ahead and get to the DeAndre Hopkins talk. We talked about this last week. We're going to talk about it again this week, because a lot of things are changing every single week, even though we don't have a definitive answer as to where he's going to be playing football. But it's still something that we have to address, because the Chiefs are still very much actively in the hunt for D-Hop. And there's some context I want to put out here today, guys, because I've had some interactions this week with some people that you might know, and I'm going to get right to it. So according to the most reports out there, Hopkins is looking to get paid. That's from everything we've been hearing over the last 6-7 days since the last episode Trevor and I did. How much for how long? We don't know, but the rumor has it the contracts the Ravens gave OBJ changed the way D-Hop viewed his offseason. So much so that the Bills and Chiefs, the two teams that were widely consistently mentioned, that were actively, dare I say, aggressively pursuing a trade with the Cardinals for D-Hop this offseason, essentially pulled away from the table because of the money that was seemingly and allegedly being demanded. Now, D-Hop has recently hired a new agent, a widely unknown agent by the name of Kelton Crenshaw. And I'm sure, from my viewpoint, that Mr. Crenshaw would love nothing more than to make a name for himself by getting his highly touted client a fat contract with a top contender. But even Mr. Crenshaw, and more importantly Mr. D-Hop, must understand and realize that those two things are not a reality together. I actually believe, despite what the bottom feeder tweeters will say, D-Hop could very well get him a 2 or 3 year deal that would pay him every bit of $15 to $20 million a year, because that market exists for his services. But why hasn't he taken that type of deal just yet? Because he also wants to win. And the teams that could pay him the money he's looking for, the Bears, Panthers, Patriots, Browns, are teams that are in a tough division and or at least a year or two away from being a legitimate playoff contender, let alone a Super Bowl contender. So what will this come down to when it comes to who and where D-Hop will play for and at? Does more money mean more than finally winning, or does finally winning mean more than adding to his already $115 million fortune? The Chiefs are clearly in on D-Hop. We don't need to expand on that anymore. We know that they're clearly in on him. They have been for 4 months. That's a long stretch of time for a team like the Chiefs to be in on somebody. Last time we saw them in like this for a wide receiver was Juju, and what ended up happening? They ended up getting Juju. Yep. But the Chiefs know that D-Hop is going to have to meet them halfway financially. I do believe the Chiefs ultimately would have to pay D-Hop anywhere from 10 to 15 million, which would or will be less than what he's going to get with a lesser franchise. But would taking $5 million less with a 50% better chance of winning your first Super Bowl not be an adequate compromise? And look, if money is D-Hop's ultimate motivator, that's fine with me. I've always been on the team of go get your bag. But when you make a list of 5 teams and 5 quarterbacks that you would like to play for because you think you could win with them, when you choose to essentially force the hand of the team that's paying you $19 million this season to outright cut you, when you claim that winning is your ultimate priority, then taking less in a financial perspective has to be viewed as a prerequisite. This, along with my stance on where I believe the Chiefs are on D-Hop, is why I know they need D-Hop, is why I also will be the last to die on this hill if need be. This entire week, I had been hearing nothing but the growing hype machine that surrounds the Chiefs' current wide receiver room. From fans to local radio hosts claiming that the Chiefs are just fine with what they currently have. That the Chiefs answered their wide receiver issues in the draft by getting Rashee Rice. Okay. Well, I decided to send out a tweet this last Wednesday, you know me and my tweets, addressing this very take. And I said, quote, "It's fascinating that folks assume that the Chiefs are fine at wide receiver and that these other teams bidding for D-Hop aren't. The Bills have Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. The Browns have Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. The Patriots have Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker. All of these wide receivers I just named would be the Chiefs' wide receiver 1. Well, this tweet grabbed the attention of senior info reporter and lead content strategist for the Monday Morning Quarterback, Albert Breer, who I have a profound amount of respect for. He said in response to my tweet, quote, "This is the stuff that's crazy to me. Travis Kelce doesn't count," end quote. This is what's so astonishing about Travis Kelce. Kelce is so great and has been so consistently dominant at the tight end position that people at all levels assume that the Chiefs don't have glands at wide receiver. Because to answer Mr. Breer's question as candidly as I can, no, Travis Kelce doesn't count in this regard. And the Chiefs agree with me. How do I know that? Well, let's look at the last 12 to 15 months. Within a 2-month span in 2022, the Chiefs offered Tyreek Hill a contract extension and had an agreed-in principle for over $25 million per year before ultimately trading him. They then went and signed Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS while drafting Sky Moore in the top 55 picks of the 2022 draft. Those aren't moves made by a team that's resting on their laurels. Those aren't moves made by a team that considers their tight end a fix-all for their disparity at wide receiver. Kelce is also going to be 34 in October. So although he's profoundly great and should be profoundly great again in 2023, it is dangerously and recklessly irresponsible to assume that he's going to make up for having literally zero proven commodities in the wide receiver room. I also had the misfortune of hearing my guy and the person I look up to the most in sports media, Mr. Nick Wright, share a very different yet in the same vein sentiment as our friend Albert Breer on his respective platform on First Things First this last week. I'm going to play the video for you guys so you can hear it.
Is on a Hall of Fame track. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say he's a Hall of Famer already because I think it's harder than people realize. For receivers and in the NFL. I covered him when he got drafted by the Texans. I got to know DeAndre a little bit. I think he's an awesome guy. I think there's a period of time where he had the best hands in the NFL. He might still, and is an awesome player. And the Chiefs do not need him. Oh, man. If they signed him, I wouldn't be like, oh, they screwed up. But you wouldn't be excited? No. Really? Yes, here's why. Because there is an opportunity cost that goes along with signing the aging veteran for a year or two, and that is the stunting of the growth of the guys at his spot. And the Chiefs have spent real resources on very young receivers. They drafted Sky Moore in the second round a year ago. Now he had a down season, and then he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl and goes into this offseason feeling great. They spent a second round pick this year on Rashae Rice, who had unbelievable production at SMU, but was not considered one of the 4 best receivers in the class. They spent the equivalent almost of a second round pick on the trade for Kadarius Toney, who I think is excellent when he's on the field. His issue has been ability to stay healthy. The Chiefs understand that they are going to have to spend their dollars on the defensive side of the ball. And so they need those young players on a rookie contract to be great. So now, and the other thing, Brew, is they're not chasing anybody. They're the best in the league by a wide margin.
Okay, let me first of all reiterate my stance on Nick. There is nobody that I respect more in this field than Nick Wright. He was the guy that, I love my guy Nick. He's the one that got me into this field, and I couldn't respect him any more than I already do. Trevor knows this, and everybody that listens, pays attention to the show knows this. But he is so goddamn wrong on this one. For a lot of reasons. One, he addressed the defensive side about how the Chiefs are going to have to start spending money on the defensive side. No, they're not, because they haven't been. You want to talk about the way the Chiefs have been going about it? The Chiefs have built themselves a young, cheap nucleus on defense, and I don't see Brett Veach changing the way he's been drafting and developing his defense anytime soon, because he knows that's the Patriot way. That's how they handled things back with Tom Brady when he was winning championships, and they went and spent money on offensive players and offensive linemen, things of that nature. That's what the Patriots did. That's what the Chiefs are going to do. If you look at the way Nick Wright was talking about, putting so many resources in these wide receivers. Well, how about the fact that the Chiefs drafted Trey Smith and they paid Joe Thuney at the same position a historic amount of money? And they knew Trey Smith was going to be a starter on this team. How about they go and sign Austin Ryder? Wasn't a big contract, but they had him as the guy penciled in to be their starting center. And then they drafted Creed Humphrey in the second round. I mean, there's examples across the board of what the Chiefs have done at certain positions where, you have Frank Clark making a lot of money and they've drafted players at that position multiple times over the last 3-4 years. So you can't tell me it's because of young resources that they can't go and get veteran players. That's, if anything, it's actually more applicable to do so. But my question to Nick, and anybody that feels this way, is this is my question, and this is where I want to take off on this whole thing, Trevor. And I know I'm taking a lot of time here, man, but go with me on this. So, essentially, signing D-Hop, who is a sure thing, would stunt the growth of these young receivers who aren't a sure thing? The Chiefs had literally no one in the way of Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney in 2022. Did any of them grow into a star wide receiver last season?
Right.
You can't assume that any of these young dudes will ever become a star. If winning Super Bowls is priority number one, you have to add sure things. That's DeAndre Hopkins. The Chiefs aren't chasing anybody because they make moves to stay ahead. Signing D-Hop is one of those moves. Why did they trade for Frank Clark? Why did they trade for Orlando Brown? Why did they sign Joe Thuney? They had to stay ahead by getting veteran players to step in and fill in. And furthermore, how are we going to continuously ignore the fact that the Chiefs have yet to replace Juju Smith-Schuster, let alone justify passing up on acquiring D-Hop? Folks do realize that Juju had more receptions, yards, and touchdowns than Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore had combined last season, right? Because he did. And those guys got plenty of opportunities last season. You saw their impact in the playoffs, and I'm not taking that away from them. And I hope they can build off of that. But as I asked a friend of mine this week, Who in this current Chiefs wide receiver room can you say with any certainty you trust to go out there and have a big-time season in 2023? If you happen to pick one, tell me, who is having a bigger season with Patrick Mahomes, that guy or D-Hop? We've seen that D-Hop can and will do what he can and will do with bad quarterback play. Imagine what he'd do with all-time quarterback play. Even with an uptick in usage and development, there isn't a single player in that room right now that can match D-Hop's value and production for this team right now. Maybe in 2024 and 2025, but the Chiefs are a team that's trying to rack up as many Lombardi trophies as they can with the Mahomes, Kelsey, Jones intact as their core pieces. That's not going to last forever. So unless I'm mistaken, and the Chiefs are basically taking 2023 off and they're not planning on continuing this year, why in the hell would you turn into this season with an even thinner wide receiver room than you had last season? Could Patrick Mahomes get the most out of these young guys? Could Travis Kelce play all 17 games, play at an all-pro level, and put up 1,000 yards for an 8th consecutive season while not wearing down? Sure. But do you really want to put even more on Mahomes' shoulders? Do you really want to put that much expectation on the soon-to-be 34-year-old Travis Kelce? I mean, shit, Shannon Sharp was one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He retired at 35. As great as he's been and still is, that decline is coming for Travis Kelce. You can't assume that because it hasn't come yet, that it couldn't or wouldn't come as soon as this season. If Kelce were to go down with an injury or just doesn't have the hip fluidity he once had, who's Patrick Mahomes relying on this year? This is what we have to think about, and this is why getting a player at D-Hop's magnitude could be so vital for this team's success in 2023. And look, these young dudes have potential. I love Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore a ton, but they are unproven. I look forward to seeing them prove themselves, but I don't feel comfortable seeing them do so as the guys that Patrick has to rely on heavily, seeing we've yet to see Kadarius Toney play more than 10 games in a season, and Sky Moore had 4 times as many muff punts as he had receiving touchdowns last season. Not to mention only 250 total yards. The fact is, the Chiefs are in absolute need of the same thing they were in need of 3 months ago. A veteran difference-making wide receiver one. You can say I'm being ridiculous, as so many fans have been telling me all week. But if I'm being ridiculous by saying the Chiefs need to add a veteran difference-making wide receiver one to the wide receiver room, then explain to me why every single report that's coming out has stated that the Chiefs are one of the top teams after D-Hop and have been the same since February. We know how the Chiefs operate. If they're not trying to get someone, they're not attached to that player in the news. We would have heard the Chiefs had initial interest, but that interest tapered off for whatever the reason may be. That is no way the case. In fact, it's been the exact opposite. And now that the Bills are out of the race for D-Hop, as I've told folks just last week they would be due to the horrific cap structure in 2024, our guy John Harrison, who's a big follower of ours and a big contributor, broke that down in the comments, and I hope John breaks it down again in these comments, because it's 100% true. The Bills will be in cap hell after this season because of Von Miller, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, all the other big-time veterans are playing.
Apparently they're already out of the race.
Yeah, they are. They're 100% out of it. Yeah. Brandon Beans multiple times has mentioned that. How many times have you heard Brett Veach say that? It hasn't happened. Yeah. And so the Bills are done. And that was the team that everyone was penciling in was going to take D-Hop just like 4 days ago.
Right.
The Chiefs are the only real option for D-Hop if winning is his ultimate goal and desire. The Chiefs know that. Which does give the Chiefs some leverage. But not all. Because D-Hop also knows what I've been breaking down on the show today. And that's that the Chiefs need him just as much. Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the foundation of this whole conversation, the back and forth of the fan base, whether the fan base, this sector of the fan base wants him and this sector of the fan base doesn't want him or don't think we need him at all, the Chiefs want him. And they've made that very clear. That's all that matters, right? And I think like you made the breakdown of whenever we've had someone leave or we've had a departure, we've always brought in a veteran or we've always brought in a replacement free agent to fill these needs. Outside of the the youth movement and the defense last year, we've done nothing but replace. I mean, we brought in Juju. Why? We brought in MVS last year. Why? All these guys we brought in because we had a vacancy at wide receiver. Those guys are now, or Juju is now gone. McCole Hardman is now gone.
Right.
Those are two huge vacancies, and you think that with Andy Reid's track record, do you expect him to let these year 2, year 1 guys to be that guy and step up, or like the listen? And I'm all in on Kadarius Toney. Let me make that very clear. I have been since we signed him. I think he's the truth. I think he's going to be an absolute stud playmaker for this offense. But do I know if he's a solidified wide receiver 1, prototypical kind of wide receiver 1 for an offense like this? I don't know that. I think he definitely could be, but we don't know. We got to see that. Who I do know would 100% be that is D-Hop, and I've said that ad nauseum on this show and on this platform numerous times. And listen, man, we can feel however we want to feel about it. Nick can feel however he wants to feel about it, and think that and spew nonsense like the Chiefs won't be better with him or don't him. We absolutely need a guy like that because the AFC is absolutely loaded this year, even more than last year. We have an absolute first ballot Hall of Famer that has joined the AFC. With a stacked roster over there in New York or New Jersey, Aaron Rodgers. So that just makes it that much more competitive. We're still playing catch up with the Bengals in that matchup, right? I know we won the big one, but they've also beat us in the same situation. So that's a team that's damn near neck and eye to eye with us right now, competitive wise. And we've got to consistently find ways to have the edge. I know we are the best team. We just won a championship. I get that. But championship teams do championship things and make championship moves, and this would be a championship-esque move, especially getting a veteran who wants a championship, has yet to have one in his career. And you know me, I'm all about motivation. I'm all about guys with veteran guys that are proven commodities that still have a chip on the shoulder because they haven't reached the pinnacle of this sport. And that's what I'm all about, and I know that's what D-Hop is all about. Could there be an opportunity for him on a team that's lesser than, like you said, the Panthers or the Browns? I think the Browns would be a fairly good situation because that's a good roster over there, and Deshaun can definitely come around to being who he is, and that's a scary thought, especially in the AFC that's already loaded. But joining Amari Cooper and those guys over there, that would be a solid offense. Seeing his history with Deshaun, but do we? I mean, if we had the funds. If we think we can make the funds, I don't know if the Browns, I don't know what their money situation is like. I know they're tied into a lot of contracts over there already.
They've moved some money. I think they have around $10 to $12 million in cap.
They're walking away from Kareem Hunt as well, which I don't think he was even under contract this year. But, I mean, that could definitely be a situation. Those are the only two I really see possible landing spots because I know the Browns have shown interest. The Jets have shown interest, but I think they've fallen off as well. But, yeah, I think we've discussed this so many times on the show already, man, to why we think KC is the best landing spot for him and why it would be smart for D-Hop to come here as well, and why 100% our offense would thrive with this guy being the alpha in the wide receiver room.
It's for me now, Trevor, the conversation has moved from whether it's the right spot for him or not. We all know that's why I didn't want to address that.
Yeah, but people keep questioning whether the Chiefs, 1, need him, or 2, are interested.
That's my problem.
We already know these are both factual things.
Exactly. The Chiefs are proving that. Like, right. If you don't want to listen to me, you don't want to listen to Trevor, you don't want to listen to other people, look at what the Chiefs are doing. Like, we've not heard one report yet.
Track record of what they do.
Yeah, we're not hearing one report that's saying the Chiefs are out on DeAndre Hopkins. And until that happens, I'm not going to budge because we're not hearing that. Like, the Chiefs are clearly in on him because they see the same things I'm seeing. It is not a knock on these young players the Chiefs have. And again, when you talk about the impact of a player like this, guys, you have to understand that this is not something that just falls in your lap every year. Mm-hmm. Like, guys like DeAndre Hopkins are not free agents. How often do you see great top 10 wide receivers just sitting in free agency, especially this late in the game? Now, people say, well, that should be a concern. No, it's a very unique situation because of the fact that 3 years ago, he went to a Cardinals team he thought he was going to contend with. That didn't happen. They let him go, and now he's getting a chance for greener pastures.
Another thing that's frustrating to me is my stance all along is with Rashee Rice being, a lot of people thinking he might be a day one contributor, and I fucking hope he is. That'd be great. But those same people are the ones that said Andy Reid was right for letting Alex Smith have that year ahead of Patrick Mahomes, and let Patrick Mahomes, learn under him and blah blah blah. But then those same people are out here saying that Rashee Rice, give him the chance. He could be a day one contributor. We don't need D-Hop. We drafted a guy that plays just like him. I'm in the field of bringing in a guy that he admired and molded his game around to come in and help him translate that into the NFL, just like he did with similar skill set, right? So that for me, people that want to, I wasn't on the team me and you both think that Patrick should have started from day one. This is a different situation though. With the wide receiver skill set or skill player, I think it makes a lot of sense for him to kind of take the back seat and we bring D-Hop in for a year or two and he kind of plays alongside him and learns a lot of his, how to be a pro. For skill players, that's big for them because, you come in and you have that flash in the pan, that situation where you're a flash in the pan kind of player and then you fizzle out. D-Hop has shown nothing but level-headedness and consistency in his career so far. Like you said, he's played with numerous quarterbacks. Didn't matter the name on the jersey, he was still getting his. Right, so I think that's a proven thing for him to show that we've seen guys play with stud receivers play with bad quarterbacks and their numbers drop. D-Hop's found ways just to be dominant consistently. So if he can come in and show these young receiver room, these habits that he has, maybe these the way he goes about his lifestyle and structure and what he does things on and off the field. I think that would be. I want that for this locker room. I want that for these young guys. So I think bringing D-Hop is more than just on the field, what he can do for us on the field. Bringing in veterans like that, I think is a good idea, man, period, for on and off the field reasons.
That might honestly be the best point you've made in regards to this entire thing because of the fact that, I didn't even really think of it that way, but it's 100% just like laying there. It's like almost like low-hanging fruit that you just kind of subtly just kind of plucked right there, Trevor, where you talk about if Patrick Mahomes himself, the guy that we all knew even before he played that was going to be the guy that Andy Reid was going to be hitching his wagon to for the foreseeable future, whether he continues to coach or not, the Chiefs taking a risk they've never taken in their franchise's history on this kid, if he had to sit back,
take a year off,
according to the Chiefs.
You heard his production? Probably.
Like, think about you're good, dude. Think about that. Like, if he had to sit, how much more so than any other position? No offense to Rashee Rice or any of these other kids. They're nowhere near as valuable, as important as Patrick Mahomes has ever been. Right. So if the principle lies in the same regard for Patrick, it has to rely on these guys too, which is perfect because, like you said, Trevor, as it currently stands, there is not a veteran wide receiver on this team that's going to help shape and mold Rashee Rice into something that we hope he can become. Because if you look at it, coincidentally, Rashee Rice molds his game after DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. Who is more perfect for that? And it's almost like it was written this way for it to happen.
Well, and two, why are we acting like there isn't two vacancies at the wide receiver position?
That's what I'm saying.
McCole Hardman is now gone. That's a lot of production. A lot of Kadarius Toney can immediately slide right in that role. Similar player, actually better in my mind.
Yes.
And with size and speed and much better seasoned receiver as far as
when I said that Kadarius Toney is the better receiver. McCole Hardman DM'd me and was a little pissed about that. So. I'm just saying, you could tell that he was upset about it because he knew his value, but he knew that Kadarius has the skill set.
Yes, I think we know this.
Yeah.
No shade to McCole. He was great at what he did. He had a nose for the end zone. That dude just did nothing, and I love him for that. But we also have the vacancy of Juju Smith-Schuster, who also can be, there could be, and who knows what MVS is going to do this year. If MVS is taking a step back and isn't doing much other than stretching the field and not much else than that, if I'm being honest, has a game here and there, why can't Sky Moore play that field stretching role?
Right.
If you want to move him out of the way, let him steal that job, he can do that. So Kadarius Toney can take that next step while Rashee Rice learns under D-Hop. It makes too much sense. We have two vacancies, and it makes that much sense to draft a guy and then bring in a veteran.
And I also hate this because let me put it like this: if Juju had signed back with the Chiefs for whether it was another 1-year deal or a 3-year deal, we wouldn't be talking about this. Because we're like we're good. The Chiefs are good. The Chiefs are good with this wide receiver core. Is it the best that they have? No. I would still have some concerns, but you have your guy. I think Juju is a guy. I think he was reliable for the Chiefs all season, and the Super Bowl came out huge. Played huge.
9 catches in the second half.
Yeah, and I miss Juju, and I'm always going to miss Juju. He played his role. 1 year, gets a Super Bowl ring. So, and now he got the cha-ching, as I said. So, but what I don't like, Trevor, is this, and Nick did it himself. I have to say it because I have to be, he talks about being Mr. Consistency on the show. I'll be Mr. Consistency as well. As much as I love Nick and I praise him for what he does, I also have to criticize him sometimes when he's off. And he's off in this one because he talked about how the Chiefs aren't chasing anybody. That's not true. Yeah. You know who the Chiefs are chasing? The Patriots. They're chasing a dynasty.
Patrick's chasing that.
And you can't sit there and say, because of the fact that we're atop of the league, that they don't have to make moves at some forms and some fashions, desperation.
Yeah, the Bulls didn't have to go recruit Rodman either.
Exactly. They didn't have to go and get international players like Tony Kukoc, right?
They didn't have to reach for those guys.
They didn't have to go get Ron Harper, who's averaging 22 points per game in the Clippers, to be on their bench.
Right.
Like this.
They were already a three-peat team. Like,
Exactly.
They didn't need to go get Rodman.
You have to stay hungry, like we talked about just a week ago. The Patriots won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. They went and got Randy Moss. Who
was much later in his career
right?
than pretty close.
But same age, but he's more years.
Right.
Is my point? What I'm making is that teams that want to win more Super Bowls, more championships, whatever sport it is, cannot sit back.
Yeah.
And what do we love about Brett Veach? How aggressive he is. Well, wouldn't this be on brand?
Of course, man.
So that's what I don't understand about this. I think what's happening, Trevor, is there's a transition in mindsets, and we like this because we've talked about on the show about how Chiefs fans need to be a little bit more cutthroat, a little bit more cold, because growing up we were loyal players, we loved players because the Chiefs were winning Super Bowls. But now that they're winning Super Bowls, we have to understand that a lot of turnover is going to happen. But we also have to understand that you're sometimes going to have to go out there and take some risks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go and get guys and pay a little bit more money than you're comfortable paying.
Yep.
And to that point, something else I want to bring up is this. I've probably seen, Trevor, I'm not kidding here, 400 to 600 replies from my Twitter account to our Facebook page of our posts that we made over the last couple of weeks in regards to signing D-Hop. People have been constantly saying, Lance, the Chiefs don't have the money to make it happen. They don't have the cap structure to make it happen. Guys, you do understand that unlike the Bills, the Chiefs are a team that can make 3 or 4 moves and open up a lot of money. Yeah. And those moves aren't hard to make. Let me go ahead and break those down real quick for you guys. One, it's the most obvious of them all, extending Chris Jones. According to reports, it's kind of varied. My guy Charles Goldman of Chiefs Wire told me one number, but I've also heard other numbers. But regardless, just extending Chris Jones would give the Chiefs at least $16 million in cap space this year. Just by extending him, which is an obvious, inevitable move that we all agree is going to happen.
Right.
That's $16 million, right? So let's just go on the low end. Let's not say 18 to 20. Let's just say 16, right? You then can restructure Travis Kelce, who already is extremely underpaid. He's the 4th highest paid tight end. He's by far the best tight end in football and has been for many years. You can restructure his contract. That would give the Chiefs over $7.2 million in cap space. Then you can restructure Joe Thuney's contract that would give the Chiefs up to $9.2 million in cap space. And everyone's like, well, Lance, you're going to be paying him $27 million guaranteed in cap hits over the last 2 years? Yeah, because Joe Thuney's one of the greatest left guards we've ever seen.
Yep.
The dude is insanely... He just had the greatest season the left guards had in years. Quietly.
Yeah.
And everybody loves to, talk about, he could swing over and play left tackle. Well, if you guys believe that, then isn't he worth those cap hits? Like, think about that. If you guys love him so much at left tackle, and people have been singing his praises over there, then wouldn't you want to give that guy all the money in the world? So, yes, I would be down to, even though Joe Thuney's 30 years old, I don't see any slowing down. I think that guy will play into his mid-30s.
Yeah.
So I'm good with the Chiefs having to pay him a lot of money later on down the road and kicking that can. There's also other moves where you can move Justin Reed's money. Now you'd have to pay him the totality of it. You can trade or release MVS. That would save the Chiefs up towards $7 to $9 million. But just those 3 moves I mentioned, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, and Joe Thuney, Trevor, you know how much money that would save the Chiefs? $32 million.
That's a lot of money.
Just 3 moves. And all 3 of those moves make sense for the Chiefs. Because all 3 of those guys are going to be on the Chiefs roster for the next 2 to 3 years. And are those guys not helping the Chiefs win Super Bowls? And with D-Hop coming in here making $15 million, would he not help the Chiefs win a Super Bowl? Like, all these moves help the Chiefs now and help sustain things for the next 3 seasons. So you guys are sitting here worried about the cap structure. Guys, the cap can move like that. We can hear today during our show that Patrick Mahomes restructured his deal. And that would save the Chiefs another probably $20 million.
Not surprise no one either.
Exactly. So, yes, you are kicking money down the road. But, guys, when you are in the position the Chiefs are in, which is us fans have been waiting for 5 decades for, when you're in this position, you have to go and hit it while the iron's hot. Because, think about it. We all assume that for the next 10 years, the Chiefs will be contending for Super Bowls. But, Trevor, do we know that? No, we don't. But what we do know is, as this team is currently constructed, with adding a player of D-Hop's magnitude, this team's contending for another Super Bowl.
Well, and do we also want to continue to try to do things the hard way? Last season, we did things the hard way, right? We let go of the best receiver in Chiefs history, let him walk, right? And we filled the vacancy as best we could with filler pieces. And no offense to Juju and MVS, they just are not Tyreek, not even combined, right? And we drafted a young receiver. We drafted another young receiver this season. do we really want to try to put all that pressure on them and try to do? I mean, if we went forward this year, it would be even harder of a journey than last year was. Right. And everyone knows it was a tough journey last year. We fought for everything we had last year. I mean, obviously we got to the mountaintop when we won the Super Bowl, but it was a tough journey, man. We didn't have that alpha wide receiver. And I don't see that being a thing yet unless someone emerges, right? And if someone emerges, that would be incredible, whether it's Kadarius Toney or, whoever it is, if one of these guys takes that step. But do we really want to bank on that moving forward for an entire season, trying to make a back-to-back trip to the Super Bowl and face this gauntlet of an AFC? I don't. Right, I would like to see us pay up and make things a little easier and take a little bit of pressure off Patrick Mahomes, because we all know we can all do the whole Brady thing, even though Brady wasn't always the guy. He always had all-time great defenses whenever he won Super Bowls or made great runs. Even when he had that best offense of his career, they lost. Do we want to bank on the all-time talent and greatness of Patrick Mahomes to have to will us to another Super Bowl or a trip to another Super Bowl? No. I would like to make things a little easier on him and give him a true... and this is excluding Kelsey. Everyone knows Kelsey's great. Albert Breer, we get that. We know that. He's not a wide receiver, okay? That's an entirely different position. It is what it is. I know he's target number one, but if you bring in DeAndre Hopkins, that takes a lot of pressure off Patrick Mahomes and gives him another true safety blanket, alpha wide receiver, target hog in this team, in this offense that would absolutely thrive and honestly be a guy that we haven't seen in the Patrick Mahomes offense. He hasn't had a guy like that has the size and speed and capabilities to create space and get open like that. He's had the speed of Tyreek Hill, but to get up and get it 50-50 balls and ball tracking skills that DeAndre Hopkins has is on a different level, right? So I don't want to make. I'd rather try to make the road of this path of this season a little easier than what we had to do with last year with the unknowns, right? With Juju being a decent receiver, solid guy, but not like a true number one. Having a true number one would kind of be nice for a break, for a change in this season moving forward.
Ask Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, which Super Bowl run was more taxing? Was it this last one or in 2019?
Right, that's what
I'm willing to bet it was this last one.
Right.
Not just because they're older, but because of the fact there was so much more on them. Because in 2019, we all know that Tyreek Hill was here. Well, Sammy Watkins was here.
Think about all the haters that were doubting, and everyone was doubting the Chiefs because we didn't have another star player on the offense, right? We lost Tyreek Hill. Everyone, it was doom and gloom. It was Armageddon for the Chiefs until they figured that out. Because they went and got Juju Smith-Schuster. That's not an impressive move for nationally view-wise.
It's definitely not an upgrade from Tyreek Hill.
Right. So we lost Tyreek Hill, and do we want to? I would like to bring someone in to kind of fill that superstar or star potential wide receiver, because right now we do not have that. And like we've talked about on the show already, Travis Kelce, as great as he is in his Hall of Fame-esque career as he's had, there's always going to be that moment where it starts to slow down. He's been slowing down, honestly. Right. His greatness, his ability to have a connection with Patrick Mahomes.
It's also been more taxing because also the fact that the competition's getting stiffer. Because in 2019,
that's the main thing.
Who did the Chiefs face?
That's the main thing in this argument.
Who did the Chiefs face in the 2019 playoffs? They faced a Texans team that completely obliterated, that was ran by Bill O'Brien, right? Then they played a Titans team that had their quarterback was Ryan Tannehill. And I'm not knocking what the Chiefs did.
Right.
My point, though, is over the last 3 postseasons, the Chiefs have faced substantially better competition. Yeah. And it's only going to get better because the quarterback position alone in the AFC is substantially, there's no chance in hell that 2019 Titans team makes it to the AFC Championship now.
Right.
Not a chance in hell.
Especially
the Bills, the Bengals, even the Chargers, throw them in there because of Justin Herbert alone. Yeah. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers. It's
the most loaded division I've ever seen, ever. NFC, AFC, ever.
I'm saying, man, you would never see a team like that team, the Titans, who was a good team. I think they won, 11 games that year. Yep. And Derrick Henry was a god. Having said that, though, you're just not going to get anywhere with a Ryan Tannehill quarterback in the AFC now, and so the Chiefs have to, despite what Nick Wright says, have to continue to make moves. They're going to keep you one step ahead. Yes, Rashee Rice might turn into something, but Trevor, we have a decade of evidence that states that even the greatest receiver in Chiefs history, Tyreek Hill, in his rookie year, was not a wide receiver one. Now, he was utilized differently. He was doing special team stuff, things like that. But he was not that guy yet. And I guarantee you, Trevor, if we went back in time and we said, hey, who do you want to take in the draft, Rashee Rice or Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
We're taking Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and another thing, too, okay, what would you rather have, right? Rashee Rice have an incredible, really, really good rookie season, maybe not like record-breaking rookie season, but a very productive rookie season for year one for an Andy Reid year one receiver? Or would you rather have DeAndre Hopkins, a Hall of Fame wide receiver, go out there and get 12 to 15 touchdowns and 1,200, 1,300 yards? I'm taking the latter, right? That makes more sense to me, especially right now. Like we've said, like this is a guy that's motivated to go win a ring. He has no jewelry yet. He's had an incredible career statistically. And you pair him with the best quarterback he's ever going to play with.
Right.
It's with the best head coach he's ever going to play with. It makes way too much sense, and I don't understand the arguments to why it wouldn't work. I don't think there really has been a coherent argument to why it wouldn't work.
It's all been about money.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're talking dollar signs, I mean, get out of here, man. Money is funny in the NFL. We all know this. Things can be moved, and if anyone's shown that and proven that, it's Brett Veach.
Yeah.
Right, we were willing to pay Tyreek Hill.
Us for sure.
We were willing to pay Tyreek Hill handsome. We were willing to pay Orlando Brown Jr. handsomely. They just wanted a little bit more, and that's fine. But we were willing to pay all these guys handsomely. You know what I mean? We're going to pay Chris Jones handsomely. So, I mean, bringing in a veteran for a couple of years is not going to stunt the growth of Rashee Rice.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
I know we might get asked this question in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out there now because I want to get to the questions if we have any coming up in a minute. But, you know, obviously this is all predicated, like I said, on the other side of, if DeAndre Hopkins really is focusing on just getting paid, then the Chiefs will probably be out of it because other teams can pay him more. Like we do know that the Browns and the Bears and the Patriots and the Panthers can pay him more. Yeah. That is a reality. That is a possibility. But he's not going to. I know you mentioned the Browns earlier and how that could be a good fit because him and Deshaun played really well.
Yeah.
I'm still out on whether Deshaun will ever regain what he once was. It's mental, man. Yeah. And sometimes guys get the yips and they never come back. This is in baseball. This is in all sports. And so I really wonder about that. And you notice that Deshaun never mentioned Deshaun Watson in that conversation with the 5 teams he'd like to play for. He never mentioned Deshaun Watson. So I do wonder, like, I'm sure that they like each other and they're cordial and they can play together, but I wonder if he really does view the Browns as a team that would facilitate his needs. Yeah. That's a question you have to ask. So it'd have to really just come down to money on that. But a question I want to ask to you and I, and obviously the viewing audience can chime in, if it comes down to, like, say, all right, the Chiefs have a choice here. Like, they can get DeAndre Hopkins, but he's not taking a 1-year deal. He's going to ask for multiple years. Would the Chiefs be down for that? And I'm going to answer for the Chiefs. Yes, I do believe they would be.
With like a third-year option?
A 2-year deal with a third-year option. Yeah. I think that what you could do in that regard, see, that you talk about money is funny, but guys like DeAndre Hopkins at the current place of their careers are going to want guarantees, which is why I think a 2-year deal would sweeten the pot for him and make him feel more comfortable. And the cool thing about it is the Chiefs could get away with that and still make it incentive heavy, because I know that's not something that DeAndre Hopkins would probably want initially. But if let's say the first year of this deal, let's say it's a 2-year deal with a third-year option, which the Chiefs can get out after year 2 when he's 33. You give the first year of that deal is $12 to $14 million guaranteed, right? That's a hit, but it's front loaded, right? Yeah. So you're giving him certainties. He's giving you a sure thing. You're giving him a sure thing. It's good business, right? After the first year, everything drops guaranteed wise, where he has $5 million guaranteed or $4 million guaranteed, and then it's $15 million with incentives, where he can prove that year 1 wasn't a fluke, and he can still be a guy that generates production for this team. And he can prove that to the Chiefs. And if they don't like what they see in year 2, they're not taking big cap hits, and they can get out of the deal after year 2, and then his market's still pretty decently high because he just helped the Chiefs win another Super Bowl in year 1 and played really well for at least a year. Another team can give him another 2-year deal. Yeah. So I think that's probably what because I know my whole stance has been give him a 1-year deal, $5 million, $6 million, and then add the incentives and then get up there by OBJ. More I think about it, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think because there's been other teams that are in the mix, I think that now you're going to have to probably sweeten the pot a little bit, and I think it's going to be a multi-year deal if the Chiefs ultimately get him. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the 1-year deal would be nice. That would be the ideal situation, kind of one and done. See if we can get another Super Bowl run here with DeAndre Hopkins, and for him that would be, a great way to ride out on the sunset towards the end of his career. Even though he's got a handful of years left, I truly believe that. But I do think, realistically, and I know he's been reports coming out of his camp that he does want an OBJ-esque type deal, where it's pretty heavy up front. With a lot of guarantees or whatever, but I outside of a team that's rebuilding, like you said, the Panthers, the Bears, things like that would want to bring in a guy like him to maybe help them, or maybe like a team that's trying to make a run in the NFC as well. There's some teams because the NFC is pretty much wide open.
Yep.
So if in these very winnable divisions over there, someone wants to have add him into their wide receiver room, I get it. Maybe they can do that. But if the Chiefs are going to sign him, I do think it would be a multi-year deal, at least 2 years. Yeah. Like you said, I think 2 years with the third-year option makes the most sense for the Chiefs. So leave a little bit of flexibility after the first couple seasons, or at least after the first season as well. You can change some things up and renegotiate, whether it's he has an injury or something like that. You can give yourself a little bit of leverage. But I know he signed that new Clutch Sports agent. For this reason, right? Because he's been representing himself, so he wants to make sure that this deal is something that's favorable for him and to finish off his career with. This is, I think, his third deal in his career, right? So I think outside of his rookie deal, he's made a lot of money in his career already. But I'm not going to be the guy that puts my hands in another man's pockets and tries to take the bag away from another man. I whatever he wants to do is whatever he thinks is best for him, and good for you. But if it's a football move, I think we all know. And we've all discussed and talked about on the show so many times that Kansas City makes the most sense in every football aspect. So.
And if it doesn't happen, ultimately, like obviously I'll be disappointed for whatever reason it might be.
Yeah, of course.
I'll be disappointed, but at the same time, I'm not, and I'll make this very clear, and so people can not twist my words here and say that, oh, well, Lance thinks because they didn't get DeAndre Hopkins, they can't win a Super Bowl. No, the Chiefs still very much can, and in fact, I still think they would be the favorites to do so. What I'm saying, though, is that gives you assurances you just simply don't have right now at a position of absolute need, and that's just where I stand on it, guys. I think that's where that's why the Chiefs view it the same way I believe that I do, where it's like this guy is somebody we absolutely need to better our chances to win. Could you still win? Yes, the Chiefs have a great chance of still repeating as Super Bowl champions, but think about how much better it would be knowing that you have a top 8 receiver in the league that has so much still to prove that he can be that. And to that point, let's say DeAndre Hopkins doesn't come to Kansas City. I still think the Chiefs are focusing and fixating on adding more veteran players to this equation. I mean, we've talked about on the defensive side in particular, at edge rush. Mm-hmm. We know that Frank Clark looks like he wants to come back to Kansas City. I think that money's holding that up. I think there's Yannick Ngakoue out there, who's 29 years old. He's saying the money doesn't matter. He wants to win. That could be a guy the Chiefs kick the tires on. And obviously the guy that I've been talking about forever is Justin Houston. Yeah. The opportunity of him coming back full circle, great story, 34 years old, still very productive player, still healthy, I think would fit the scheme better than most people anticipate or would assume. Yeah. I think those are 3 guys that the Chiefs still would very much look forward to signing, even if they were to sign D-Hop. Because of the fact, like I said, there are 3 moves that you're not going to pay D-Hop all $32 million of that, and you've already signed your rookies, so that money is there for the taking. So if you were to sign D-Hop to it's going to get his annual cash value of $12 to $15 million this year, you still have almost $20 million in cap space that you can go and get a Frank Clark. You can go get a Justin Houston. You can go get a Yannick Ngakoue. We can discuss whether one of those 3 guys would be better for the Chiefs, but I do think at some point in this offseason, you're going to see the Chiefs add an edge rusher too. So I don't want people worried about that, like, oh, they're choosing between edge rush and D-Hop. But if I had to choose, Trevor, because one of my good friends on Twitter, I'll give him credit for this, but he mentioned. And I see if I can find the actual tweet, but he asked the question of whether you would rather see the Chiefs go after D-Hop or bring back Frank Clark. It was my guy C Breezy Edits, a really good follow. I highly recommend you guys go hit him up. C Breezy _edits. He asked that question: which would you rather do, get D-Hop or Frank Clark back? It's D-Hop without a moment's hesitation, because the Chiefs, to that point, with a need at wide receiver, don't have as many glaring needs at edge rush. Right. Adding Frank Clark would help with veteran presence, rotational value, things like that, but the Chiefs don't need Frank Clark. That's not a need. That is a want. And I think the Chiefs will definitely kick the tires on an edge rusher, veteran edge rusher, because they've been doing that every single season with a Melvin Ingram, a Carlos Dunlap, Terrell Suggs, guys like that. Those Ngakoue would be a great move. Yes, yeah, Carlos Dunlap, guys like that. Yeah, Ngakoue would be great. Yeah. And who's to say that Carlos Dunlap doesn't come back? We don't know. So there's options out there, man. But I do think those guys are still somebody that the Chiefs are going to entertain, whether they get D-Hop or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. I'm not somebody who's too fearful when it comes to money, and I don't think the Chiefs have ever been shy about their money either. They've made things happen. If we put like I said, we put big offers out there to keep guys here that just wanted a little bit more, and they chased that, and good for them, right? But we were willing to pay these guys well. It just has to work out for the team, and this is a team-first situation, and this is always, I think Brett Veach is more than guys like John Dorsey, who absolutely screwed us budget-wise a lot of times because he just gave people what they wanted and didn't negotiate things. I think Veach, and I think a lot of things, when you're the champs, you have the leverage, right? DeAndre Hopkins, it would be an honor for him to play here, not the other way around, right? So we still got to keep that mentality, but at the same time, it would be great to have a talent like that, a proven commodity in this league, to come play here and have a run, make a run, go deeper into the playoffs than he's ever imagined, right, or even has experienced. So we had the leverage here, though, right? At the end of the day, if he wants to go play for a team that has no real hopes of making any kind of postseason run in the near future, cool, man. He chose the bag, and you want to get that, that's fine. Go the Carmelo Anthony route. That's good for you. But if you want to be a champ, we just proved that Juju Smith-Schuster came over here on a one-year deal, got it done, didn't have to be incredible, but he still helped be a viable piece and got it done. So if we can get a guy like D-Hop who is tiers above Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, the sky's the limit, man.
Yeah, so. I agree. You know what? Let's go. Let's move to our second segment of the day. It's our first time ever doing this, and I just want to put it back out there if you missed the beginning of the show, but we're introducing a new segment that we're going to do here every single week titled Speak It. So basically what it is we're allowing you guys the platform to chime in with your comments, whatever you guys have to say, whatever you guys want to bring up, whether it's a take or a question in regards to what we're talking about specifically, or if it's across the sports landscape, you want to talk MMA, you want to talk NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever it is you guys want to talk about, we can bring that up and we can discuss that. Drop your name, all that stuff, man. We'd love to hear from you guys. So I know that we have a few comments so far, Trevor. Let's go ahead and get to those real quick. I don't know if you can see them or not.
I can see the Facebook. There's a couple Facebook comments.
I believe it's John Harrison.
Okay, I can't see the full comment though for some reason on StreamYard, so I don't know if you can see it on your end on the Facebook side of things.
Yeah, so let me pull this up real quick. Our guy John Harrison was actually, and that's awesome that he's the one that's commenting right now. But like I said, hit us up, guys, if you haven't already, you have a question or a take. But John Harrison said, in regards to the wide receiver position for the Chiefs, I'm sure they feel good about the players they have, but like Veach has always said, you're always trying to improve the roster. Exactly.
Right.
Like, that's the point I'm trying to get people to understand, is that's how you continue to win Super Bowls. It isn't because of the fact that you've won already that you should say, all right, now we've arrived, because we all know, especially in the NFL, there is so much change, not with just in your franchise, but other franchises. You don't think for a second that the NFL teams around you look at that and go, man, that was our opportunity to beat the Chiefs. They didn't have a proven wide receiver. I mean, they had Juju Smith-Schuster and a bunch of guys.
Right.
Now they lost Juju and they still have a bunch of guys. Like, we need to be aggressive this offseason and go full-fledged into it, because it looks like the Chiefs aren't going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, we listened to Peyton Manning on the Stephen A. Smith cast during the finals when they was asking about, hey, how do you feel about the Broncos? And Peyton's like trying to give them praise. He's like, but I really wish the Chiefs would get out of this division because they're going nowhere. Yeah. So there's a growing frustration. That target continues to get bigger for the Chiefs. What better way to continue to grow that target and grow the frustration for your opponents than to add to the equation and to make your chances better, like I've already stated.
Right.
We had another comment. Let me see if I can find that one. Oh, this is
Tony one.
I'm sorry?
There was one talking about, I can't see the name, but it's, she says, I think Kadarius Toney is headed for greatness. So that's believes that Kadarius Toney can possibly be, that wide receiver one. I'm in that camp as well. Even if D-Hop ends up over here, I think this is a huge year for Kadarius Toney, barring health, and then we can always use that as a caveat as well. But I do think Kadarius Toney is going to absolutely explode in this offense this year. I think they're going to have, like you saw when he first two games he came in and they had plays immediately for him. Game one he scores. Andy Reid's going to have, I think, a lot of fun with this guy.
I couldn't agree more. I've told you from the beginning. I told our guys at Chief Concerns, Jason Dunn and Marcus Dash, I said, because I was slow to the party, the Kadarius Toney party. I was somebody who was very reluctant about that. Yeah, and in one game I was sold because of the fact that this guy does have wide receiver one talent. There's no question in my mind. He was a first-round pick for a reason. Yeah. I went to a franchise that just had a lot of influx situations. Their head coaching positions changed. They didn't have a great quarterback, yada, yada, yada. Fact is, it didn't work out there in New York. I think it very well could work here in Kansas City. If there were a place that it was going to work, it'd be under Andy Reid's tutelage.
Perfect for this offense.
Yes, it's with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. And furthermore, when we talk about the only concern I really do have with Kadarius is the health problem. There's not a better medical staff in the NFL than the Chiefs. Like, they do an amazing job here keeping guys healthy. So my point, though, is if he can't stay healthy here, I don't see his career being very long in the NFL, because as talented as if he can't stay on the football field, it doesn't matter how talented you are.
Right.
And we've seen that story, sadly, a lot of times. And so, destined for greatness or greatness in his horizon, I agree. I think it's definitely there and it's in play. The point, though, is that we can't go into we can't go into week one with Kadarius Toney being your wide receiver one, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Could he become that? Yes. But he has to prove that first. You don't want to just say, hey, let's hope for the best. If the Chiefs are resetting right now, let's say like Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and Patrick Mahomes retired, then I kind of understand why you'd want to do a little reset like this, where you're not wanting to spend money on a big veteran free agent like D-Hop. That's not the case for the Chiefs. They're a young team on the defense. They're not spending a lot of money on the defense. They have an expensive offensive line, but an offensive line that is reliable and is going to keep Patrick Mahomes healthy. What better way to add to that equation and help Kadarius Toney develop? Because I've said the beautiful thing about here in Kansas City is being a rookie player, being a young player coming to Kansas City, you're not, unlike other teams when you're drafted high or traded for multiple picks, expected to come in and be the guy.
Right.
Like, we know that Travis Kelce's still that guy, but if you added D-Hop to the equation, Kadarius Toney can just fit his role and get one-on-ones in the slot against a linebacker. Could you imagine Kadarius Toney going against linebackers on a consistent basis, or
there's going to be those matchups,
or a safety? Like, he's going to eat them alive.
Could you imagine if D-Hop was out there distracting and taking the number one corners, and then that allows guys like Sky Moore
and Travis Kelce always getting double teamed. Always getting double teamed with the cornerback one and a safety blanketing. Like, you're always going to have that. So if Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and MVS can all just get one-on-ones every single snap, then you're talking about Kadarius Toney being able to develop quicker because he's getting that confidence, he's getting those reps. And you don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to spread the ball around? Like, D-Hop and Travis would get obviously the majority of the targets, but it wouldn't shock me at all if Kadarius Toney could play 15 games or so for him to get 85 targets. And if he gets 85 targets, then you're looking at probably 60, 65 catches for 800 yards. Yeah. And all of a sudden you have yourself a guy that's butting into that star. And if D-Hop's gone, then all of a sudden Kadarius Toney steps in because he's had a season of doing that.
And I just got a text from our buddy Evan Tate. Shout out Evan. He just texted us and said he said that Isaiah Pacheco said that he would give up the number 10 if D-Hop came over here. So.
I mean, what more do we need to hear?
Come on,
we
man.
had Charles Omenihu, a former teammate of D-Hop at the Texans, state the same things multiple times on Twitter. Hey, bro, it's big bro, it's your time. Come to Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco willing to give up his. He doesn't have to do that.
Super Bowl champion Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, running back one, who worked his way up from a 7th-round pick out of Rutgers, proving his worth on a championship team, played his role with a broken finger and a jacked up shoulder. I think it was a torn labrum or whatever it was. Don't quote me on that. The fact is that guy's willing to give up his jersey number.
Still a grown man's job.
Still a grown man's job is allowing another grown man to take his number?
Yeah,
guys.
That's respect.
Come on now.
Come on, D-Hop.
I want to get to another comment here from our guy John Harrison again. And this was a few minutes ago in regards to the cap structure differences and with the bills and things like that. And John, thank you so much for dropping this again, bro. And let me pull it up real quick. Based on top 51 players, Bills are $30 million over cap next year. Many teams are. Denver $30 million, the Chargers and Cap Hill $74 million over next year. That's counting a fifth year on Herbert at $29.8 a year. Signing Herbert long term keeps the salary low next year. There's still $45+ million over next year. Chiefs are currently $36 million under next year, but a Jones extension will take some of that. But they could sign Hopkins and roll some cap hit to next year by structuring it right. You can roll bonus spawned out 5 years if you want. Look how Jets signed Hardman, $600,000 bonus a year over 5 years, and has a 1-year contract. You just have dead cap in the future. John, thank you. That is biblical right there, what you just did, man. You just broke that shit down to a T, explaining to the fans out here how and why this can and will work if the Chiefs want it to happen. The Chiefs are one of the smartest cap guys in the entire league, and Brett Tillis. I know we give Brett Veach all the credit in the world for what he does in signing these guys, but Brett Tillis is one of the biggest reasons why the Chiefs have the cap structure they have every single year. Now, when you're a contender, you're going to spend more money because you have a better team and you have better players. But the Chiefs, as he just broke down, have a cap structure for the next year and change to make these kind of moves happen. So what kind of team would the Chiefs be if they know they have a chance to elevate their chances to win another Super Bowl, given their cap structure, and they don't do it?
Right.
Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense.
And we know the Chiefs want him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. That's the point I keep having to point everybody back to. Like this discussion, like a lot of people like keep making it sound like this is not a good move, and the Chiefs just shouldn't do. Chiefs want D-Hop. You know what I mean? That's the foundation of this whole conversation that we need to keep addressing. The Chiefs want him. The Chiefs want to get him. The Chiefs are attracted to this man. They're flirting right now, right? They just gotta set the date and get it done. That's it is what it is, man. I unless somebody comes through and just overwhelmingly praise this man. That's the only way I see him choosing another team over us, unless if it's just strictly dollar signs. If it's football move, there's nobody else that makes more sense than Kansas City, man.
Simply not. Do we have any other comments right now?
I think that's it for now, man.
Okay.
Yeah. People are busy out here on Saturday, so I don't blame you.
Hey, man, it's summertime, get it, and if that changes, and the cool thing about it
here I am on my birthday, you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, you guys need to be better, man. Trevor's out here sacrificing on his day of birth. Where y'all at, man? No, and the beautiful thing about what we do here is we can talk with you guys throughout the week.
Yeah.
We have many comments that we get on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, where you guys are catching up or watching some of our clips, and I appreciate that so much, man, because that's why we do that, is to get you guys to interact more with our particular takes. I know that sometimes it's unrealistic for you guys to watch a whole show or listen to a whole show, so that's why we try to give you these 5-10 minute clips so you guys can know what we've been talking about throughout the week, so you can chime in. And we've been getting plenty of that on our YouTube presence and our YouTube channel, so I don't want that to stop. And we've been able to have a dialogue with you guys. So if that's something you guys want to continue to do, we'd greatly appreciate it. And we'd love to make sure that you guys feel like you guys are a part of what we do here. You guys are a large part of what we do here, because we host the show, sure, but we want this to be interactive. We want you guys to feel like you're a part of what we do. One more thing I want to say before we move to our final segment. If you guys have something to say, definitely drop it, and Trevor will bring it up. It is the fact that I hope people understand that regardless of what moves the Chiefs might bring when it comes to like outsourcing talent, signing Chris Jones is a foregone conclusion. But as I said a couple weeks ago, there isn't a single guy on that defense that I think is viewed as a long-term answer by the Chiefs, and which is why I think the Chiefs are going to be making more cutthroat moves over the next 2 years. What do I mean by that? Well, according to the guy that I brought up first and foremost of the show, Albert Breer, he had an article this last week about L'Jarius Sneed and how the Chiefs may not view him as a long-term answer. And if you guys remember, this is something that I had stated numerous times. As much as I love L'Jarius Sneed, how much of a difference maker he has been, a jack of all trades, one of the most valuable corners in the entire league, only 26, 27 years old. I'm starting to lean, Trevor, on the side that I don't think that we're going to see L'Jarius Sneed in the Chiefs uniform after 2023. And the biggest reason why is because the Chiefs have shown multiple times not only that they don't put a ton of money at that position, but it's also the fact of what the Chiefs have been doing in the draft over these last couple years. You went and got Trent McDuffie. You went and got Jalen Watson. You went and got Joshua Williams. You went and got even guys that are considered safeties like Chamari Connor this year. You went and got these guys that all can play the same positions that L'Jarius Sneed plays. Now, at this current time, I would say that L'Jarius Sneed's better than all these guys because he's more of a proven commodity. But how did the Chiefs get L'Jarius Sneed? They took him as a flyer pick in the 4th round in 2020. And since then, he's turned into something special. Now, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, and Trent McDuffie all look like hits. Even though Trent McDuffie was a first-round pick the Chiefs traded up for, I think, at 21st overall, and Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams were essentially pick-ems, just flyer guys. We've seen that Brett Veach over the years has been able to land these guys on a consistent basis regardless of when he takes them in the draft. And I think that's the trend he's going to continue to do. That's why I said earlier, I think that Brett Veach is going to continue to pay offense and draft defense. So, although I do expect and anticipate that very soon we will be seeing a Chris Jones extension, it's only because of the context that we know that he's a guy you just can't miss on and can't let walk away, at least for this time of his career. Whereas L'Jarius Sneed, although is very special, a guy I love very much, I do not think, and I agree with Albert Breer and what he's hearing, the Chiefs do not view him as a long-term answer at corner, and I think that based upon the pieces they've been bringing in over the last couple of years, that is the direction the Chiefs are going to move. Trevor, do you still feel the same way, or do you think that he's going to be a long-term answer and they sign him to a long-term deal?
No, I mean, you know me, man. I don't pay corners, and I think he's worth money. I do. I'm not going to act like he's not, but corners are replaceable. And we just drafted a guy, that has a similar skill set to him. So I think this is his last year here. I think we just let him play out his contract, and I think that is what it is. I thought we could have traded something and traded him, and package him to get some kind of deal done and get some kind of assets for him. But I guess that's not the route we're choosing to take. I think he's a pillar player for this defense right now. Another year with him in that DB room with these younger guys still is probably a good move. To have him there for these guys to still grow around and learn things from, because I think that was a big part of last year's success. Having guys like him and Chris Jones in that defensive locker room. So I love L'Jarius Sneed, man. I do. I love his skill set. I love the hybrid player he is and who he's become and gradually gotten better year by year here. He's the perfect Spagnuolo guy. But like I said, man, these are recyclable kind of positions. You have, it's kind of a revolving door. You don't overpay. I've seen too many teams suffer under terrible contracts of even the best in the game.
Yeah.
We've seen Jalen Ramsey go out there and be way overpaid in my mind, or maybe properly paid. But is it worth it though? Is it worth it for those teams to do that, or is it worth it for a team that's lesser than you? Pay for that guy, and you just keep doing what you do and stay afloat. And I just. Paying high amounts of money at that position just doesn't make too much sense for me, and I would, as much as I love him, I would let him walk.
Yeah, I agree. And again, that's just coming from the position of, all like I said, the way the Chiefs have built their defense, and quite frankly, Trevor, the fact that, as I stated a couple weeks ago, the Chiefs were having success without L'Jarius Sneed even on the field. They're 8-1 without him since 2020.
Right.
And one of those wins was when he had 4 snaps in the AFC Championship against a team in the Bengals that had beaten the Chiefs 3 straight times. So and some of the
player that makes or breaks us.
Well, some of the biggest moves or some of the biggest plays in that game were ironically the safeties and corners turning Joe Burrow over on plays where he had clean pockets.
Right.
It wasn't like the pass rush was hitting him every single time, even though the Chiefs did sack him 6 times.
Right.
It was plays where Joshua Williams, Brian Cook does a tip drill to Joshua Williams.
Yeah.
Jalen Watson going up and snagging a ball that's going to T. Higgins in the middle of the field.
Just won the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So those guys, I hate to say it this way, but those guys are the reason why I don't believe last game Jalen Watson were hooked all along, and Brian Cook wasn't developing, and they didn't get Shamari Connor. If all those were problems, like let's say McDuffie missed all of last season.
Right.
Then I'm like, you know what? I think L'Jarius Sneed's going to get paid just out of principle because they know that they got to have somebody. But because of the fact that they're 3-4 deep right now, and it looks like Shamari Connor's going to be an absolute stud.
Looks like it.
I think the value of L'Jarius Sneed's different here than it would be on a lot of other teams. Do I think a team like the Commanders and other teams like that are trying to build their defense again would be a team to go and pay a L'Jarius Sneed? Yep. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think he'd be perfect for that defense. Him and Fitzpatrick in the backfield, that'd be a great freaking defense. I think L'Jarius Sneed's going to get paid. I just don't think it's going to be in Kansas City because the incentive for the Chiefs just isn't there for them to pay that kind of money based upon the success, quite frankly, not just the assets they've drafted, but the success of those players that they did draft at those positions.
Of course.
All right. We have well over an hour now for the show. You know what, Trevor? And we have a couple happy birthdays to you as well, man.
Yeah.
From John Harrison, from our father. He said happy birthday on the
Thanks, Pop.
live stream as well. So thank you guys for that. We love the support. We appreciate you guys, obviously. You know what? Screw it, man. Let's get to our final segment of the show. What is it called, Trevor? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish up every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are not friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, whoever's holding the L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding out for you this week, my man?
Yeah, I mean, low-hanging fruit here. I'm going to go with it's a W as well, because one person is getting away from a toxic situation, and one person just continues to be the absolute asshole of the industry. I'm sure most of you guys all heard the news about Shannon Sharp getting that buyout from FS1 to get off of Undisputed, which has been a show that you talk about views and ratings. I mean, that Skip Bayless, I will give him it, man. He knows how to get the views. He knows how to be controversial. He knows how to be he knows how to force the contrarian take. And he will die on that hill all the time, no matter how ridiculous he looks. So I will give him that. He's leaned into that villain role, and it's worked for him in his career. The dude's in his 70s and still out here, being the worst ever. He's so easy to hate, and I think he knows that. I think he's leaned into that. But this comes on a personal level as well, though. I think there's been reports coming out from and Shannon Sharp's been out there liking tweets that were shots at Skip Bayless and his personality, his personal life, and who he is on and off the camera. Specifically off the camera, and I think it goes to show with his track record, man. He's got a stronghold on that network, and pretty much any network he's been on outside of ESPN finally letting him go. He is, apparently there's been reports that he chooses who his co-host will be, and he's very difficult to deal with. And so I just want to give that W to Shannon for getting out of this situation and getting paid. I mean, it's a buyout, so it's not like he's missing out on anything. They're getting his guaranteed money. And if we're all being honest, Shannon's made that show what it is. And I think there was a lot of jealousy too, and I think there's been reports of that as well with Shannon being a little, or Skip being a little salty and jealous of the big brand, with the Shay Sharp and the Uncle Shay podcast and all these things, that in the brand that he's been building around himself. And honestly, this second wind in Shannon Sharp's career, which maybe even arguably is competitive and better than what he was as a football player. What he's building off the field and what he's doing with the second part of his life is incredible. That podcast and the guests he's had on that, and who he's being as a person in the sports world, the personality that he is, and I think he's going to do nothing but succeed no matter where else he goes.
He's 54 years old.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where he takes that personality to next, man. Whether it's just continuing to grow that podcast and building his own platform, or
sounds like Stephen A. is trying to recruit him to ESPN openly on the Stephen A. Smith show yesterday.
Really,
he literally said, "Now I don't know what the brother wants.
That would be madness, man.
If Shannon Sharp wants to come to First Take,
bro, that would be
I will
madness.
talk to the upper management, and they know how I would support that."
ESPN would have to bring back up that Brinks truck for this guy, bro. You already know.
He's making, I think, he was making like $3.5 million a year with the Undisputed, but Undisputed's not at ESPN's level.
No, ESPN
so they probably double that pay. He'd probably make $6-7 million a year at First Take.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to probably happen. Not to interrupt you, but I don't think that's probably going to happen.
Probably
but
not.
I think that honestly, Shannon could be using this
his own brand, bro.
He could be using this as leverage with FS1, where they give him like his own show, where he joins another show and he gets a ton more money. Because remember Maria Taylor, when that shit happened with her at ESPN, they tried to double her money. They're like, hey, look, we know this is a leverage thing and it's working, but she ended up going to NBC. Right. So I could still very well see it that being that way. But yeah, shout out to Shannon.
But once again, this is an L at the end of the day for Skip Bayless. Once again, he's been left and divorced in these short-term marriages of his in his career. So for that, man, good luck on finding a better co-host than you just had. I know you've had the great Stephen A. and things got ugly there as well. And if you keep running into the similar roadblocks in your life, you get the all signs or arrows are pointing towards you. You might be the problem here, buddy. And I think everyone knows that. But I can't hate it. I can't knock it because it works. His formula works, but it's still very annoying. He still just seems to be kind of a scum of the earth kind of guy. And, for that, Skip Bayless, do me a solid favor, buddy, and
hold this L. I will say the one way that they can get Skip Bayless to retire, because he doesn't want to. He always talks about he's never going to retire.
71, I mean, he's getting up there, man.
This is the way to do it. Put Nick Wright on Undisputed. So that way, Nick Wright can body bag Skip on his own show every single segment, like he did. If you go back and watch it 6 years ago,
a long time ago.
The one
Nick was a baby,
and only time Nick was invited to Undisputed was when they had that debate about LeBron and then coming back from 3-1. Yeah, coming back from 3-1 against the Warriors, and Nick toe tag body bagged Skip on his own show, embarrassed him on his own show, and you've never been back since. And just to add to your whole thing about Skip Bayless, according to reports, Trevor, FS1 doesn't allow anybody on the shows or anything to talk about Skip Bayless. negatively.
Oh, wow.
He's not allowed to. Like, there's little reports that are stating, I'll find the report actually because I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly.
Because you have like 12 more Jalen Rose situations.
Exactly. Oh yeah. So NBA Central, the NBA Central on Twitter, undisputed revolves around Skip Bayless per Fox Office Sports. You can't tweet about him, talk about him, anything, or they call you into the office. Skip is not going to hire anybody who challenges him, and he's going to make the hire. So what I said to that was the stranglehold this man had on ESPN and has on FS1 management for all these years is downright pathetically impressive. It really is, man, because
He gets views, man. I'll say that.
As much of the scum of the earth as he is, dude, when he does, it works, and these people are afraid of him.
He's a cash cow.
Even Dan Patrick tried to get Nick to talk about Skip, and he's like, well, what are you talking about? If I have something to say, I'll say it. You know that Nick has things to say he wants to say about Skip. He just won't say it because he will get in trouble with FS1. For whatever reason, Skip has a tight grip on these people, man. It's pretty pathetic.
He's been in the game a
I'm glad
long
for
ass time, man.
because after him disrespecting Shannon's career achievements, after him saying the shit he said during DeMar Hamlin's fatal situation, I remember he talked about Dak Prescott and how he's not a true leader. I don't want him as a leader of my team because he battled with depression after losing his brother to suicide. Like stuff like that just starts to tally up, man.
Yeah, I think the Hamlin thing was one of the final straw for Shannon. But I think there's probably like NDA situations that he has people sign that can't say things about him in his personal life. And I'm pretty sure guys like Stephen A, big time guys like that, probably have similar, because you don't hear a lot of like personal things about Stephen A's life that anybody can expose him, which I'm sure people have dirt. But there's probably NDAs that are being signed behind the scenes, I'm sure.
I do want to give a W, just like Trevor did, but it's going to be back to our network here, Starcade Media, because of the fact that, man, we're really ramping up on this football season that we'll be here before we know it, about a little over 3 months. So Noah Groniger, Clint Switzer, and Rich Baldinger, one of the smartest NFL minds out there, is going to be doing a show also, not just ours with the Chatting Up the Chiefs post game. What's cool is we're gonna have a three-headed monster here for you guys every Sunday. So Noah, Clint, and Rich will be doing a show before the game called the Kingdom Kickoff, and that's the Chiefs pregame show. Then at halftime there will be a show with guys named Chase, Ty, and James called the Halftime Huddle. And then after it, we get to finish off everything, man. We get to be your nightcap, if you will, chatting up the Chiefs postgame show with Trevor, Von Booker, and myself. Look, man, this is what Trevor and I, in full disclosure here, I'm not going to talk ill of anybody, but Trevor and I have been burned a lot over the years when it comes to trusting people in this industry, giving people access to our show, access to us, and our efforts and the energy that we put into this every single week. I promise you guys, I say this with all sincerity. This is a daily show for me. This isn't a weekly show. This is a daily show for me. Every single day I want to engage with you people. Every single day I write about this show. I write on this show. I book guests. We talk about stuff on social media. Like, this is a daily operation. And for us to trust people in this is very sensitive to me. This is my baby, man. This is a passion project of mine. And Trevor's been along the way for the majority of it. And we have been screwed over a lot. And Stargate Media has been a very fresh breath of air for us, because these guys have really just backed up a lot of what they've been saying, giving us a platform, like I said, offering us new shows. Like, they offered this to us. I didn't ask for this. I didn't beg for this. They came to us about this. And there's going to be new, exciting things that will be happening with The Spoken and with other projects that we will be a part of. But the fact is, for the first time, we feel like we're actually a part of a community and a family that means what they say, that stands by their values and integrity. I mean, there's been other shows and other places that have tried to absorb them and start by what they want to do, own their brand, and I respect the hell out of what Noah and Clint have done, and I love that Shaggy, our good friend Shaggy Shane, is a part of this. There's really good guys, Brian B. Shining from Hot 103 Dreams, my guy Mike Hell, Matthew, a ton of people, man, that are a part of this thing that I love and I respect and I commend greatly. This feels good, man, and I'm glad that we're a part of something like this, so I wanted to throw that W out there to Starcade Media, because I think that it's more than deserving, and it's something I'm very proud to say I'm a part of, because a lot of times Trevor and I had to kind of power through some of the things that we were a part of before, and we were hoping for the best and we were wishing for the best, but a lot of times it wasn't what we thought it would be. My L, and this one feels really good, is an L that has been budding for quite a long time, and I use it now every single year, 5 years going now, and that is to the myth that the Eastern Conference was so easy. How do I know that? Well, let's look real quick. So from 2010 to 2017, here is the Eastern Conference representative in the finals. LeBron, 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 and then LeBron.
Pretty good.
The Eastern Conference representative in the finals from 2018 to today, Raptors, Heat, Bucks, Celtics, Heat. You know, notice the trend there, Trevor?
No back-to-backs.
No back-to-backs. In fact, there's only one team that's done it twice, and it was between 4 years stretch. So they couldn't even do it within 2-3 years. This is another myth that's been put out there about what LeBron James did in his career, particularly in the Eastern Conference, and how dominating the Eastern Conference was something that you could just scoff at, just roll over and just downplay what he actually did. Do you understand how difficult it is to go to back-to-back conference or back-to-back finals? Well, apparently it's pretty damn difficult because no one's done it in half a decade on the Eastern Conference side of things. And outside of the Warriors, nobody on the Western Conference has done it back-to-back times over that same stretch.
Yeah.
And to that point, Trevor, that's 12 championship game or series that LeBron has played in that stretch. Do you know that the Warriors had the same in that same stretch had their opponents opposed to LeBron's only had 3 more wins than LeBron's opponents? 366 to 369. Nice. Three game difference, dude, between the teams they faced in their conference championship games. It's amazing to see what LeBron did in that time, and to see that the Eastern Conference, for whatever reason, can't find a Giannis, which is, and I feel bad for Giannis, but now the standard is, well, why isn't Giannis in the finals every year? He's the best player in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. Why isn't Joel Embiid even getting to the Eastern Conference? Jason Tatum can't go to multiple finals in a row. Like, all the best players in the conference now are realizing that wasn't something you can just do. Even if the Eastern Conference is the easier conference, it's not an easy conference, and it never was. And so that, along with the fact that people are still asking the question, who's the best scorer of all time? Well, there's one guy that, don't even mention names, Trevor, but one guy has 19 consecutive seasons of scoring at least 25 points per game, which is an NBA record. 14 seasons of scoring at least 27 points per game, another NBA record. 12 seasons scoring shooting 50% or better from the field. Most points scored in regular season history and most points scored in postseason history. If I just said that, didn't tell you the name, are we debating this? No, we're not, because we all know that is what makes the greatest scorer of all time. It just happens to be a guy that a lot of people don't like. So the narratives, the myths, all that shit, you guys are getting exposed. I feel like it's Scooby-Doo. We're pulling the mask off. Y'all are frauds. Do me a solid and hold this up. And yes, you would have got away from this pet.
Little stat for you if you don't mind.
Do it.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw these stat lines out here. So these are averages, right? So 25.8 points per game, 9.8 rebounds per game, 6.8 assists per game on 52.1 field goal percent shooting. Now listen, that was Larry Bird's best year. This is LeBron this year.
Year 20.
Year 20. Washed LeBron. Western Conference Finals at age 38. 28.9 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, 6.8, the same amount of assists per game as Larry Bird's prime best year, on 54.9% shooting. He averaged almost 4 more points per game, a little less rebounds per game, the exact same amount of assists, and on a 3-point percentage better shooting percentage than Larry Bird's best year. This is There's another guy, 28.7 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 3.5 assists per game on 47.3% shooting. That was Jordan in 1998, his MVP year. In comparison to LeBron's, more points per game, almost 4 rebounds more per game, and almost 4 more assists per game on 5% better shooting than MVP 1998 Jordan. This is 38-year-old LeBron James. And I got one more. 2008 Kobe Bryant MVP year. 28.3 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, 5.4 assists per game, assists per game on 50% shooting. That's comparison to LeBron James, who averaged more points in the 2008 MVP Kobe Bryant, 2 more rebounds than MVP Kobe Bryant in 2008, and almost 2 whole assists more assists per game, and on 5% better field goal percentage. LeBron in this year was better than Michael Jordan's best year, was better than Kobe's best year, and Larry Bird's best year. And age 38, year 20. Stop the madness, bro. He's better than all of their best years this year.
And he's supposed to be on the downhill.
It's insane, man. It's insane. Not only is he the best scorer, he's the best fucking person ever touched the hardwood, bro. Get out of here.
I've been saying it since 2016, man. I'm going to stand by it. I love it. You know what I love is that it seems like almost every week now we end the show with a little bit of LeBron facts.
And we know I love that.
I love that, man. I'm not taking any of it for granted. I still do think he plays for at least 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
I do think he wants to tie or at least tie Vince Carter's record for most seasons played, 22.
He's going to fulfill the contract in LA.
Yeah, so I do think he plays 22 seasons. At worst, he will tie Vince Carter's record. But how?
I mean, the numbers this year are insane.
Yeah,
bro. Like, why would he stop?
If it wasn't for a foot injury, they would have beaten the Nuggets in that series. But I will say this: I think it would be super cool and ironic if LeBron retired in year 23. Like, how cool would that be, man? Like, even if he's not at if he's averaging like 22 points a game, which is still so freaking great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to be able to do that, and if he, let's say year 23, he announces he's done, I would love to see that. Like, he comes in.
I still want one more ring, but yeah.
Yeah, and it still could happen. Look, guys, did anybody honestly think the Lakers were going to be in contention this year? No.
Conference finals,
I didn't even have them making the playoffs. Like, I thought that they were just going to be a bad team, and they were. And then they made the trades. If they made that trade before the season, I think the Lakers are in a much better position, and they're probably still playing basketball right now. But, yeah, man, I definitely think I don't think his title window's closed, because a lot of people have been throwing dirt on him for 6-7 years.
They lost the conference finals.
Exactly.
I know they got swept, but, I mean, this Nuggets team, this is their year.
And I think this Lakers team's going to be a lot better than they were last season. I think they're going to definitely improve this roster. They got money. They got options. They can do a lot of things. I think they're going to do a sign and trade with D'Lo. Our guy Mark Gunnels was posting about that yesterday. They'll probably do a sign and trade with D'Lo. Get the Lakers another player.
I think they're going to get Trae Young or Kyrie, one of the two.
One of the two. Yeah, there's options out there. We can discuss that this offseason. But in the meantime, yeah, I definitely think that I don't think his window's closed. I think he's got at least one more year to try to get that 5th title. And I think because of how close they were this year, that's going to really drive him to try to get back to that. And if Anthony Davis can just hold on to what he was and be a little bit more consistent on a game-in, game-out basis, no one's stopping this team. I really don't think so. So all respect to the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are going to win their series with the Heat in probably 5 or 6 games. I want to say it's boring, but the Nuggets played like ass and they rolled. Yeah. I watched that game. Like, they were not good shooting-wise. They were actually pretty terrible.
He played terrible, too.
Well, it's because the Nuggets at home are just a different animal. They've not lost a playoff game, and I think they've won, 7 home games in the playoffs by double digits?
Oh, yeah, and you go up to that altitude, man.
It's nuts, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We really love doing this, and again, I want to make it very much an emphasis that we want to hear from you guys. So when we do the Speak It segment from here on out, hit us up, man. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. Give us your takes. Give us your viewpoints. You don't even have to ask a question. Just say what you want. Let us know what you guys got going on, and unload the clip on us, man. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. And in the comment bar on YouTube, hit subscribe. We're trying to grow the YouTube presence, and it's working so far, man. We know we got a ways to go, and you guys are the way for that to go. And that's for us to keep working and keep applying ourselves, but you guys make this job fun. It honestly isn't even a job. It's us just talking with friends, and that's what we are here to do. Follow all of Starcade Media. Hit them up on, like I said, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of it. They're all over the place. They're great guys. They have great guests, and we have great content all across the board. We're just a small part of the equation. But in the meantime, for everything that we've got going on, man, for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Wendler that puts all this together on the back end, I am Lance Twidwell of the Spoken Podcast. Episode 219 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here next week in 1 week's time for episode 220, we out of this bitch.
Later.